On the Grand Angle today, we talk cybersecurity, and we are taking a look at the South African firm ThisIsMe, launched in 2014. ThisIsMe, which is available on iOS and Android, says it allows a user prove their identity, that they are still alive, in order to prevent fraud such as identity theft.
Now, due to increased cybercrime, the South African startup ThisIsMe is offering solutions to make users less vulnerable to cyber attacks. Today we speak to Brennan Wright, Head of Growth at ThisIsMe. Hello, Brennan. Now, ThisIsMe offers its clients a secure profile in which to store their personal data. What does it mean and why is it important?
So in this modern age where the digital economy pervades our lives, there are a lot of laws that are slowly starting to come into force where it's protecting our personally identifiable information. And so ThisIsMe has developed a platform that enables those laws to be, in effect, useful. So you as a user can now control that personally identifiable information by securely and safely storing it in a structured way, number one, then securely and safely sharing that with merchants that are requesting that data so that they can only get the data through your consent.
Brennan, can you talk us through the processes you use? On your website, you give you say you give people the possibility of finding out if their personal information is secure or not. Can you talk us through that?
So recently in South Africa, we've had one of the largest data breaches of identity information ever. More than 75 million records were breached. And so what we've done is we've issued a few new tools for users to use when protecting your identities. The first step you always want to do is to become aware. Become aware of where your identity data potentially has been breached. So ThisIsMe offers a breach checker where you can investigate whether your personal information has been leaked or not. That's the first tool that we've launched. A second tool that we then offer is you to set up alerts on your identity profile. You can then check whether hackers or identity thieves are trying to access your data without your consent or trying to hack into your data. So we've set up those alerts to help you as well. Then the third thing that we've done is we've created a profile for you as a ThisIsMe user where you can safely and securely store your identity information. It then can be shared with relevant merchants that we've connected with. And the fourth thing that we allow you to do is to identify other human beings online.
Cybersecurity threat is growing on a global scale, and the African continent seems particularly vulnerable. And as you mentioned, South Africa was recently a victim of a cyber attack. Do you think more is done, or do you think governments or parties involved are doing what is necessary to prevent such breaches?
Well, it's a great point. Generally, as Africans, we've leapfrogged a lot of the legacy issues that more developed nations have. As far as the legal issues that we have, I think that there are many nations, not just African nations, that are behind. I think that it's a global issue. I think it's a global challenge whereby most nations still have a lot to do when it comes to regulation, especially within the technology space. I mean, we're seeing it across the board with nascent technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain. Regulators are struggling to keep up with those new technologies. So I think what we as individuals can and should do is become aware of companies like ThisIsMe and use us as a voice to drive that regulatory change.
Well,